Mayor, this 4 o'clock, time to begin our afternoon meeting. This time I'll turn it over to City Manager Larry.
Thank you, Mayor, members of City Council. Good afternoon. This afternoon's session is a continuation of a presentation series that we began in March, the purpose of which is to build a familiarity with the resourcing of possible initiatives and of city functions, and to provide some initial insights on the budget that will be delivered to you next week. Today's topics, we'll spend a few minutes on, or I'd like to spend a few minutes highlighting the information from March 3rd, 17th, and April 7th. I hope to have time for you to hear 4 to 6 SWOT presentations. Following that, you'll hear from Lisa, a fiscal perspective, an update, and some of our preliminary budget components. And as time permits, wrap up and highlight what's coming up at your future budget meetings. Briefly, before we begin formal presentations, recap of the March 3rd session. There were 2 theme presentations, as you may recall. We touched on facilities and branding. The first, facilities. Tanya indicated our existing centers are being used adequately. However, the city should improve the alignment of programs with interest and demand, eliminate those lacking adequate following, and develop facilities supporting clusters and neighborhoods. The second theme presentation, we heard from Pete. He discussed branding that can energize our team, build a cohesive message, and help unify our efforts to market ourselves and present a distinguishable identity. There were 3 SWOT presentations. My takeaways from those were, first on the human resource area. The compensation in the form of pay and benefits will increasingly affect our organization. Finance felt an impact of technological and policy obsolescence, and from fire that they're feeling staffing shortfalls and feels the effects of inadequate compensation. From March 17th session, major takeaways that I got were, first, there were 3 theme presentations: employee retention strategies, second, master plans, third, industry recruitment, acquisition, and airport as a catalyst. First, from the theme employee retention strategies, Deborah identified investing in training, supervisory development, and compensation. Investing in all 3 of those areas were important. That we have nearby competitors, cities such as Charlotte, Matthews, Indian Trail, perhaps Concord. Also industry in the form of regulated and non-regulated utilities each of these will take our employees if we're not competitive. And thirdly, investing in pay for performance and classification and pay studies. Both provide management with tools to incentivize performance and achieve competitive pay, and these will increase retention. The second theme involved master plans. We heard from Lisa that there are 4 basic master plans, the core ones being downtown, recreation, greenway, Concord Avenue, and land use transportation. However, if you think in terms of some of the conceptual initiatives or plans that we have on the books, we could include the Scott Safety Property across from City Hall, Sutton Park, and proposed industrial park number 3 in the mix. These are, I consider all these on the table. And although these plans are subject to change, at some level it requires a buy-in over the long haul. Without our buy-in, our ability to influence development or for the future of our community, our ability to influence development is substantially diminished. The third theme, industrial recruitment, acquisition, and airport as a catalyst. Chris and Peter demonstrated value towards investing for growth to sustain our commercial tax base, which has the opportunity of offsetting costs of services to our residents. Also, we have long and near-term opportunities in the form of adding product through building a spec building, supporting the redevelopment of Sutton Park, which may be more of an intermediate term initiative, and for the longer term, the creation of a third industrial park or business office park. Each of these can advance our future as a place to live and work. And lastly, the airport enables. It has features of a regional hub, supports tourism, and also is an economic stimulator, supporting industry, and most recently, customs traffic. We had one SWAT presentation on the 17th. We heard from Russ in terms of water resources and the feeling that the need to adhere to best practices derived from business principles. Felt that there was a staff deficit and lapses in investing in those personnel had occurred. The growth of infrastructure via collaboration and partnerships, and that assets are reaching the end of their life cycle and will require greater investment. You may recall we had two community forums on April 9th and 13th. Attendance fell short of the desired levels, certainly what I had hoped. However, our city staff's preparation was exceptional. It made me very proud. I was incredibly impressed. We had a few notable participant comments. One, public transit interests were heard, housing opportunities for seniors, better and more signs for parks in our facilities. The Citizens Academy was applauded, and there was some interest for tours of our wastewater treatment facility, among others. The April 7th session, a few comments. We had two theme presentations, deferred maintenance and staffing challenges. Brian outlined some facility needs and identified 9 areas that total approximately $2.3 million in requirements. Also, police headquarters need estimated cost range from $5 to $7 million, and a fire station with estimated cost range between $4 and $6 million. In terms of streets, Jim described a resourcing need for an additional approximately $500,000 to sustain pavement condition rating levels, and an additional $1.4 million to improve conditions to good, or PCR of 80. PCR meaning pavement condition rating. The current funding is just under $1 million, and we have a growing trend. Currently, there's 40% of our city roads are rated worse than fair, meaning they're poor or very poor. This is a growing trend. In terms of sidewalks, Jim identified the requirements of more than $7 million, and that's inclusive of 29 projects dating back to a 96 priority rating system program. The second thing was staffing challenges. You heard from 5 departments. Engineering identified they had lost approximately 4 positions through a RIF back in fiscal year ending 2011. And Jim indicated that the current requirements are in the range of 4 full-time positions and 2 part-time. That totals a little more than 300,000. Chief Bryan projects longer response times, less visibility, and less citizen engagement at current staffing levels. And I don't believe he mentioned it during his briefing, but we have talked about his application for a staffing grant, augmenting his staffing, I believe through the Governor's Highway Safety Program. Chief Ron identified in the fire department a loss of 4 positions through the RIF, totaling approximately $190,000. Chief Ron has submitted a staffing grant for temporary funding. I believe that's a safer grant.
I think so.
Recreation identified 3 position requirements: program coordinator, facility manager, HVAC technician, totaling approximately $240,000 plus a vehicle. And there's a partial offset of about $55,000 from reduced contracted services. In terms of energy, Don identified 3.5 personnel requirements for electric and gas in the electric area, 2.5 positions, totaling about $230,000, with a partial offset of approximately $40,000 in reduced contracted services. And in gas, one personnel requirement of approximately $66,000 plus a vehicle. We heard one SWAT presentation, and that was from police. Chief Ryan identified, re-emphasized the need for a headquarters building. The pay is not competitive, and that there were staffing shortfalls and a lapse in investing in those personnel. This slide gives you an overview of the remaining presentation dates and topics. Today, again, will be SWOT presentations and fiscal perspective. On this slide, I've highlighted the suggested presentation sequence for today and the remaining SWOTs. The structure that you saw previously involving 2 types of presentations are going to be continued today with in the form of a theme and a number of SWOT presentations. Today's theme will focus on a fiscal perspective with insights on reevaluation, major capital and operating budget elements being proposed. And again, SWOT assessments, which gives you more of a department level perspective. During the last 3 sessions, council heard from HR, finance, fire, water resources, and police. And today I'd like to tee up engineering, and we'll hear from Jim. As Jim's getting up there, at about 5:15, I'd like to suggest transitioning from the SWOT presentations to hear from Lisa and the fiscal perspective. And that'll allow us to conclude around 5:35 and allow us, those that want to get a bite to eat, take a water break or what have you, and get seated for the 6 o'clock meeting. So with that, I'd like to introduce Jim for engineering. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Engineering Department SWOT analysis. Strengths. One strength identified was teamwork. I am referencing the teamwork displayed not only within my department, but also across the city with other departments such as Park and Recreation, Police, and Fire. We often come together to assist each other and make things happen. We also work with outside agencies, such as the North Carolina Department of Transportation. For example, the Street Division and Parks and Recreation work with the Department of Transportation Street, US Highway 74 4 times a year. And this is part of our effort to improve the appearance of the Highway 74 corridor. The city provides 2 sweeper trucks and personnel to edge and sweep the roadway, with the Department of Transportation providing a crash attenuator truck for safety. Institutional knowledge, long tenure. The engineering department has a professional staff with 5 registered professional engineers, which I'm pretty proud of. This provides for a wide variety of expertise, from a mixture of experience in construction to site development to stormwater and the environment. We also have a professional working relationship with other government entities and associations. Not only do we work with the local district office of the Department of Transportation, we maintain direct contact with the division office to address traffic concerns and to implement special projects. One of these projects is the Sickle Shortcut sidewalk improvements that's to be constructed from Red Fox Run to Barbie Farms. We're also members and work with several organizations. To name a few, we work with the American Public Works Association and the Stormwater Association of North Carolina with Chris Costner. He's our stormwater supervisor, and he's the current president of that association. The Street Division, we feel, is pretty versatile, and they have an excellent response time to critical circumstances. The division is very capable at paving, as well as at completing concrete and drainage improvements. Some past projects of note include the Main Street Plaza, the J. Ray Sheep Parking Garden, and the downtown sound system. Recently, we completed 2 streetscape projects along Main Street, which include sidewalk, stamped pavers, irrigation, street lighting. Regarding response time, we are ready to respond to any emergency. One of my favorites is response time for the Colony Road culvert failure in 2010. I feel this shows our versatility and adaptness to respond to critical circumstances. A 60-inch corrugated metal pipe on Colony Road failed to an extensive rainfall. We demobilized from one project site after a 1-week delay for materials to begin repair. This was a one-way in and one-way out situation for the neighborhood, and we maintain access for the citizens throughout the duration of this project as we reinstalled a 60-inch concrete pipe. Then our stormwater utility is another strength we identified. The stormwater utility enables projects to be funded in every neighborhood of the city. Prior to the utility, we would investigate concerns and recommend remedies, but few citizens were willing to spend their share of the cost for the materials. Now with funding provided by the utility, the engineering department has the opportunity to improve drainage systems, address localized flooding, erosion throughout the corporate limits. Weaknesses, staffing levels for the street division. In fiscal year of 2011, the street division was restructured from 21 to 17 employees. This coupled with employees being out for various reasons such as sick leave, vacation, has resulted in a decrease in overall productivity of the division. Currently, we've had almost the entire fiscal year 2 positions vacant. We're constantly shuffling work crews to accomplish the work at hand. 2 examples of lost productivity include our reclamation program, where the target was originally 3 miles each paving season. Our current target for street reclamation is now 1.5 miles, almost half, or it is half. The second example is our concrete program for sidewalk maintenance. The material budget has been reduced by 1/3 from $90,000 to $60,000 due to lost productivity. Another weakness we identified was the funding levels for sidewalk and street resurfacing. For the past 2 years, the general fund has provided money for contract sidewalk improvements, which has been a tremendous help in attacking the backlog of maintenance projects. The city has not funded any new sidewalk construction for some time. As previously discussed during the presentation of deferred maintenance, the resurfacing program is underfunded, with the city not being able to keep pace with the current pavement condition rating. Our current pavement condition rating is 68, which equates to an overall fair condition. Almost 40% of our streets are considered to be poor or very poor. The trend toward poor to very poor street condition will continue without additional funding. And then another weakness we identified was lack of upward mobility within the department, but this really is typical of any city. Advancement is provided when staff leaves. Staff is developed with knowledge that for their advancement they may need to move to a higher position. Another city will go on to the private sector. Opportunities, drainage improvements on residential properties, as well as within the public right-of-way, the sidewalk program, resurfacing reclamation program, stormwater public education and outreach, and other opportunities we see in the future include projects from the transportation strategic plan, such as the one-way street conversion, the 2-way traffic for Jefferson Street and Franklin Street. That's slated to improve the business climate of downtown Monroe. As part of downtown master plan update, the estimate cost of business between $7 to $10 million. Then another opportunity is harnessing new technology when possible. Staff has tracked costs for work orders and other projects over the years using Excel spreadsheets. This method is pretty cumbersome and time consuming. Currently, we are moving to a web-based program called Facility Dude, which allows our crew leaders to input job specifics into code using tablets, and the program will provide us with an ability for enhanced reporting, as well as tracking quantitative control of our performance measures. Threats, lessening of regulatory abilities. Fast-track permitting continues to be considered by the state legislature for erosion control to allow development to proceed when plans are decided by the consultant. The concern with fast-track permitting is that it precludes the city's ability to review a site until there is a problem or issue. And this could result in consequences to the downstream property owners and degradation of our water resources. Other concerns we have with fast tracking is that there may be added costs to the developer for cleanup of possible fines, as well as delays added costs and sites for redesign to meet compliance. We also identified unfunded mandates for stormwater as a threat. The city of Monroe was issued its first National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System, NBDES permit in 2005. The designation of Monroe as a Phase 2 city was an unfunded mandate, which led to the development of our stormwater utility. With each permit renewal, we are wary of added burdens to the city, such as the establishment of restrictions for nutrient loading and stormwater inspection of local industries and sites. Each added requirement is put in place with no additional money for implementation and must be covered by our current operating budget. And then regarding streets, a primary concern in the past has been a shift of responsibilities for secondary roadways within the state system from DOT's responsibility to local control. And without additional revenue, this transfer would affect the city's ability to maintain our current street system. And then last but not least, the improvement of the economy as opposed to worker retention versus pay. We do expect to lose employees as the economy improves. As I said, we've always make additional money. That's the end of my presentation. Any questions?
Thank you, Jim. Jim will be followed by Lisa. Mike?
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council. I'm here before you to present the Planning Department's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Oops, sorry. Bruce, will you get me back?
She's just pushing buttons there.
I was trying to hurry. Okay. Our number one strength is the ability to maintain the same level of services with reduced staff and increasing workloads. The Planning Department consists of 5 divisions that offers a range of services: building, permitting, planning, code enforcement, and solid waste. Prior to 2010, our department consisted of 21 people, and due to the downturn in the economy, we lost 8 members of our staff, but we've been able to still maintain the same level of service as well as add additional job duties throughout the years. Just a few of those within each division is code enforcement. We've revised the public health nuisance in order to be more strict, and we've become more proactive with minimum housing. Building standards, we're experienced in multiple plan review and inspections on same projects, and this is due to poor quality plans that we're receiving. And what is happening is, with the downturn in the economy, people are saving money on the design up front, but in the long term it's costing them more time and money, as well as staff more time to review plans. So we're having to re-review plans multiple times. Permit Center now handles money since the customer service and collections has moved to a different building. We're responsible for the money for all the permitting. A few projects that we've added to the planning as very exciting projects are our long-range plans, the First Street, Concord Avenue, land use plan, and then we're getting ready to kick off the revision to our Unified Development Ordinance. And then we have the Greenway project. Another strength of our department is we're customer service oriented, both internal and external. We are committed to provide the citizens with courteous and consistent customer service in a timely manner. In order to provide the most effective and efficient customer service, all of our staff are cross-trained within their field so they can handle any project, question, or concern within their field. The majority of our questions, concerns, and complaints are addressed or resolved within 24 hours. The remaining within 48 hours, and that is typically due to the amount of research it takes to gather the requested information. We do strive to educate developers, applicants, citizens as much as possible. A couple examples is through the building standards provides free consultations to all developers per request. Planning Department offers pre-development meetings for all projects. One of our unique customer service strength is our one-stop shop permitting center. We handle all the permitting for water resources, building, fire, engineering, and planning. Yeah, our department is also innovative and creative problem solvers. We've continually received complaints regarding litter throughout the city. I know the city established a program a couple years ago to have a roadside cleanup service for the major thoroughfares, but we receive a lot of complaints about the litter on the minor thoroughfares. So staff has developed a program to work with community service workers to hit those minor streets. We do that on a weekly basis. A couple other innovative projects that we began is introduction of electronic plan review. In order to utilize space more efficiently, we've scanned all our plans and now we require the new plans to be resubmitted digitally. We've also established the iPads in the field to review plans, provide inspections, and receive emails and communicate with staff in the office and in the field. Our staff is passionate, dedicated, and experienced. Our department does consist of a group of employees that have good work ethics. We're go-getters. We have many years of history and experience. Majority of our department, the employees are born and raised in Union County. So therefore they have a desire to make Monroe a better place to live and work. Almost all of them have been here, I think other than 4, over at least 5 years, some of them 30 years. 2 out of 3 permit technicians have their International Code Council certification, and all 3 building inspectors have their level 3 certifications in multiple trades. So some of our weaknesses were also our strengths. The number 1 is insufficient and reduced staffing levels. The planning department has experienced insufficient reducing staffing levels in 4 divisions due to budget constraints in 2011 and 2010 and 2011. We did lose 8 employees. The city is approximately 30 square miles and 33,000 people. Prior to 2010, our department had 4 planners, 4 code enforcement officers, and 4 inspectors that divided the city. Each one of those staff handled approximately 7.5 square miles and 8,000 people. Now we are operating under 2 per division, and they handle 15 square miles and about 16,500 people. Due to the reduced staffing levels, the department does lack the ability to plan for the city's growth and development and the needs for our community in a proactive manner. So we are planning on a reactive basis. We're not able to provide as much public outreach and education, develop new programs, and revise ordinance and codes as necessary. Just a few examples of projects that we've had on our list for a couple of years. Additional education forums similar to the one we're going to be doing in the historic district. It's been the goal of building standards and planning to hold a forum in downtown in order for business owners, developers to meet with staff to discuss how you renovate historic buildings. That's been a goal of ours. Another one is non-residential maintenance code. We have a community neighborhood program that we've been budgeted and received $5,000 to assist low to moderate elderly income people with minor repairs on their homes, but we have not had the staff or resources to develop those programs. Another weakness is our outdated plans and ordinances. The city's land use and plan and unified development ordinance are 10+ years old and do not reflect the current community vision or respond to changes in market conditions and development patterns. Along with the downturn in the economy and the outdated plans and ordinances, this has resulted in our limited growth for Monroe. One provision that was in our land use plan with the economy is the 2 units per acres and only 150 lots recorded in 5-year requirement and 50 lots recorded in 1 given year requirement. Like I said, this is a result of the economy and our provisions, and has resulted in we've only had 1 residential subdivision in 8 years approved. Outdated ordinances also resulted in a majority of uses requiring a conditional district rezoning approval. This is not a developer-friendly approach to planning. Another weakness is the every other week bulky pickup for garbage. Prior to 2010, the city provided every week bulky pickup. As a negotiation tool to reduce the overall solid waste service costs, Waste Pro offered the city the ability to go to every other week bulky pickup for a reduced fee. We thought it was a good idea. According to the 2010 census data, the city contains over 45% of rental. Rental tends to have a high turnover rate. Therefore, we have people constantly moving in and out of the residents, leaving bulky at the road for weeks. Another weakness we believe is citywide is a lack of a citywide strategic plan, a lack of a common collective vision amongst staff, council, boards and committee, and our residents of where are we going and how are we going to get there. As the city plans for growth, we should look into developing a strategic plan that articulates a vision for our community. A strategic planning process is typically 4 phases. You have your gathering input from your senior management team and residents, and then you also have that followed by a council retreat. And those two input phases is what develops the strategic plan, and then you have your implementation to the strategic plan. A strategic plan consists of 5 areas that represent the commitment to serving the community, our vision for our community, our organizational mission, our core values, and our 5-year goals that support the long-term vision for the city that would be linked to our budget. An action agenda which outlines annual targets for action to advance progress toward the goals. This model aligns the city programs with spending with long-term goals, brings critical needs into focus, and provides an organizational roadmap for success. A good example of a municipality that has a nice strategic plan is the city of Fayetteville, if you ever want to go look at it. Opportunities, of course, are going to be our new and updated plans and ordinances as we develop or complete our Concord Avenue and our land use plan along with our Unified Development Ordinance. Hopefully this will result in new development and redevelopment throughout the city. Another opportunity is we've added an additional code enforcement officer, so this will provide staff with the ability to be more proactive in code enforcement rather than reactive. We've also purchased the Laserfish Enterprise Content Management System software called Workflow that will provide our department with the necessary tools to track plan review, provide electronic application submittal, and easily obtain data for reports. We believe another opportunity will be Greenway expansion. We are currently working on the phase 2 of the Bearskin Creek Greenway. We're hoping this will serve as a catalyst for additional greenways throughout the city. Threats to the city, limited growth and no growth. A significant threat to our city is the limited to no growth that we've experienced over the last 7 to 8 years. Since 2007, as I mentioned before, we've only had 1 residential subdivision. Limited to no growth affects the stability of the community in many different ways. It can lead to community decline and negative quality of life impacts. This results in loss of jobs, eroding tax base, growing crime, and vacant and deteriorated housing. It speaks uncertainty for commercial investment, and it limits the amount of revenues generated that results in budget constraints. Another threat to our city is the amount of vacant, abandoned, and deteriorated, dilapidated housing stock. Due to the downturn in the economy and the funding for minimum housing enforcement in previous years have resulted in a stock of vacant and deteriorated housing. This results in increase in vagrancy and vandalism, which also leads to increase in police action or enforcement. Results in increase in property values and quality of life, and impacts the aesthetics of our community. Another threat to specifically our department is the continuous budgetary constraints and no merit cost of living raises over the past years. And then there's always the threat of the legislation changes of state and federal. And that concludes my presentation.
Any questions of Lisa?
If not, Lisa will be followed by Brian from Recreation.
He's gonna zoom in on you.
Good afternoon, staff, council, mayor. Good to be here. I'm glad we're getting some sun these days. Felt like a mushroom for a while. I'm here to present our SWOT for downtown Parks and Rec. I'll go right into strengths. Of course, in downtown Parks and Rec, we do basically our business is people. So our strength needs to be our people. And I think we have that in the staff we have in those departments. We have lots of, we have a sincere desire as staff of those departments to improve the maintenance in all of our facilities and our community. We have a diversity of skills and talents and experiences in those people. There's a broad range of experiences that we all bring to the table, and all of us have a can-do attitude. If it needs to be done and doesn't fall anywhere else, it usually falls in Parks and Rec. And I have a staff that takes on that challenge and gets the job done as best we can. And of course, as been indicated by other departments, we do work a lot with other departments, energy, engineering, police, fire, all of them. And that's a strength citywide, not only our staff at Parks and Rec. We have a broad service area. Parks and Rec touches a lot of this community, from senior citizens to children of all ages, regarding programming, relief pickup, just citizens. So we touch a lot, if not all, of this community in these departments. And all of our staff is service oriented. We have to be. That's our business. But we enjoy doing that. We include both passive and active areas in our park system. That's a big plus for us. Some systems only have passive or some only have active, but we do have the luxury of having both. And our relationship development with other government agencies and partners, we're constantly working on that inside the city with other departments, but also with other agencies like NC Parks and Rec and any other granting agencies or planning agencies. Events, Parks and Rec downtown does do a lot of events in the community. The majority of those taking place in the downtown area. Some have become quite successful. Others we're still tweaking and trying to make better. And all of our efforts are done to improve the quality of life and hopefully improve surrounding property values. I think our greenways, our parks, our investment downtown, all of those efforts can increase surrounding property values. Weaknesses, as brought out in previous presentations by myself and others, deferred maintenance is an issue. Budgets have been constraining in the past years and seem to continue to trend that way. Sustaining current levels of service with that is a burden, sometimes challenging to staff and sometimes frustrating, because we can't do what we really need to do. And we can't be all things to all people. That's just a fact of life. We can do something really, really good and satisfy that need, but then there's another area where we just can't fulfill that. We don't have the capability or the money or whatever. And I think, prioritizing our programs to reflect community needs, program services is something that goes along with all of those issues. Lack of community branding. There is a recognition issue inside the department. Parks and Rec, signage at our facilities is not comprehensive, cohesive. They are all a little different. It's not recognized as a Monroe Park or recreation center. That consistent look is lacking. And telling our story, we can do a better job of that. There seems to be a lack of knowledge of who we actually are. And portions of our community lack outdoor facilities. Hopefully our greenways and different passive areas, continuing with those programs and projects, hopefully will make those facilities available to all throughout the community. And we do have difficulty in benchmarking with other communities because we're all different. We offer different things, we have different services, different funding sources. Monroe isn't the same. We have an established system with community centers and parks. Indian Trail Stallings doesn't. They're just building theirs from the ground up. So a lot of our potential is in what we already have. that goes back to that deferred maintenance and taking care of that. Lack of capacity to address an aging demographic. I think this is something we all need to realize in planning, in Parks and Rec, and downtown. Our senior center is at capacity, if not exceeded. Maybe rethinking our community centers. The demographic is aging. We are an aging population. I think we need to recognize that and capitalize on that development in the future. Opportunities. I'm keeping up with what I'm saying. That's a good thing. Opportunities, alternative funding opportunities and revenue generation, exploring grants and different foundations, different ways to leverage our dollars is something that I think is an opportunity for us as a department and as a city. Program development, of course, is an area. Branding and identity, use of social media, capitalizing on those aspects of giving yourself that identity or that exposure, something we can be better at. Promote the benefits of Park and Rec in our greenway development and those projects, promoting what a healthy lifestyle is or can do, educating on that part. Investment in our current facilities is a huge opportunity. We have a number of parks and community centers that if we can bring them up to par and make them shine again, because they once did when we first built them, I think we'd be ahead of the game and over and above in providing that to our community. We'd be second to none in Union County. Of course, we need the adequate staff to address all of those needs and services and programs in order to get there. And increase accessibility. This goes along with our aging demographic. I think it's very relevant in Parks and Rec, but also just citywide in anything we do. Threats. Funding is always a threat. When funding wanes or lessens, it hurts in staff and what we offer and what we can do. Competition and alternative providers has been a recent development with Planet Fitness coming to town. That we realized that at the Aquatic Center, but above and beyond that, I think, Carolina courts, schools, churches, they're all getting into the recreation aspect of family life. They all, to some degree, compete with some of our programs and services. Insufficient funding. We have maintenance needs, demands that are impacted by that. Capital investment, dedicating funds for that future investment, for that maintenance that's needed, and sustaining current levels of service. Abandoned and foreclosed properties in our neighborhoods, that really hurts us as a community, as a city, and as a department. That impacts the vandalism, the high level of vandalism, the different things that we're seeing happening with our facilities, especially at Parks and Rec. And future unfunded mandates, of course, increase operating costs. This could be EPA requirements, stormwater, all of these mandates, accessibility requirements. A lot of these things, we're required to do, but there's no money that comes with it. So we need to find it and make the best of it. That's my presentation. I'll give you turn over the clicker to someone else.
Yeah, subject to your questions.
Well, just a
Right.
quick question. Have we added any staff to Parks and Rec in the
Not-
last, I can't remember.
Not
any.
that I'm aware of.
When we did the cuts, were there positions cut from Parks and Rec?
There were,
Okay.
we combined the director, when Mike retired, the
Yeah, I
director
remember
position
that.
was combined. And in the In the downsizing, we had a few move to some enterprise funds. I know Russ has one or two of our former employees, so we did have people shift.
Y'all
to other
combined some
departments.
crews, did you not?
We what?
Combined some crews.
We did.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. So there was some loss, and as you know, the funding in Parks and Rec has stayed level throughout the years. So.
But y'all had more and more stuff put on you. Okay.
We all have.
Yeah.
I'm not
Okay.
alone.
Brian will be followed by Don, Energy Services.
Well, good afternoon. I appreciate this chance to come talk with you some more about the Energy Services Department. I'll start with the strengths of the department. First and foremost, it has to be our employees. We have a great group of employees that are safety-minded, they're skilled, and they're experienced. Both the electric and gas utilities have formal safety programs where we stress safe work practices and want to make sure that every employee goes home every afternoon with no injuries. Our employees are skilled. We have ongoing training programs in both utilities to keep our skill levels high, and they're experienced. The electric department employees have an average of 21 years in the electric industry. The gas department, we have an average of 14 years in the natural gas industry. So we have an experienced workforce. Both utilities have good infrastructure. They're with sufficient capacity for significant growth into the future. The electric system's completed our transmission loop around the town, completed all of our substation projects, so we have the capacity ready to grow. Gas system built the transmission line to interconnect with the transcontinental pipeline. We've got capacity in that pipeline to serve at least 3 times the existing peak day load. So we're in good shape to have both utilities grow. Both utilities have long-term contracts. The electric system, the Hallville plant, is licensed to operate until 2043. Contracts with the transcontinental pipeline are long-term contracts with automatic renewals. So again, we're in good shape for the future. Both utilities have efficient operations, very low losses, high reliability, and staffing levels that are relatively low, so that we're not increasing cost unnecessarily for employees. Now, both utilities have an attitude of continuous improvement. When we find something that's wrong or broken, we fix it, but then we take a step back and look at it and say, could we have this same problem elsewhere? And if so, we take steps to make improvements elsewhere to try to limit future problems. And there's some certifications and inspections ongoing. The electric system is a reliable public power provider. That's a certification that we apply for every 2 years with the American Public Power Association. And the gas system has annual inspections by the North Carolina Utilities Commission, and we've continuously had good inspections. Moving on to weaknesses. Our greatest weakness is employee retention and the fact that we've got an aging workforce. Over the last 3 years, we've lost 1/3 of our line technicians, and that's due to pay and benefit issues. Not only with our line technicians, but many of the positions in energy services the pay rates are below the market level now.
Where are the majority of the linemen going to that goes to, you know?
Union Power and Duke Power have lost employees to both of those. Another issue with employees is the workforce is aging. We'll have a number of key employees that will be eligible for retirement within the next 5 years. Limited growth is particularly an issue for the electric system. The electric system has a very limited service territory. There's a lot of fixed costs, particularly with the Hallville plant, so we need to see a continuous growth of customers to be able to spread cost across a larger customer base. And we'd particularly like to see some residential growth. As Lisa mentioned, we've not seen a lot of residential growth in the past few years. Electric rate competition, and I'm going to cover that in the wholesale electric rates at the same time. There's just some issues with Power Agency, with the fixed debt that we have. They're working on some things to try to restructure the debt, which will give us some temporary relief, but again, our wholesale rates just make us a little non-competitive in the electric system. But as that debt is retired, we will become more competitive in the future.
When will that debt be retired again?
2018?
That's when it's supposed to be retired. There's a movement underfoot right now to restructure all of the debt and take it out to 2032.
Did they not try that just 2-3 years ago?
They did, but there's a new push for
That wasn't refinanced the whole system about 2 or 3 years ago. And there was so many people came in and was talking against it, especially some of our big customers. Not only here, but in the other areas. It's 18, isn't it?
That's 2020 when the debt would be,
Yeah, well,
the majority of it would be retired, but it's well on its way to be restructured and take all of it.
I'm not so sure the same folks that spoke out last time is not gonna step up this time also.
The horse is out of the gate already.
Well, you know, I don't know what is good and what's the best or whatever, but if they keep financing, we're not gonna ever get it paid off.
I'm there with you.
The system's
It's
gonna be,
almost there.
it's like refinancing a car, the system's gonna be wore out before we get it paid for.
The General Assembly plan that part in this, the way that they're,
It's just between the Power Agency and the local government commission. Moving on, the final weakness is lean staffing. That can be an issue if we have widespread issues or problems, but we do have ways of taking care of that. Moving on to opportunities, ongoing employee training and development is something we've got to stay up on. Both the electric and gas industries are changing. We need to stay abreast of those changes. And particularly since we have some key employees retiring, we need to make sure we're providing for a smooth transition as those folks retire. Another opportunity is in our pay and incentive plans. We need to make sure we're paying competitive pay and benefits to our employees to make sure we can retain them and continue the service level our customers have grown to expect. And we need to make sure that we've got incentive and merit plans in place that reward folks when they do a good job. Load growth is an opportunity for us. The gas system has a large territory. We've been able to expand the gas system. We need to continue to look for opportunities and take advantage of those opportunities to expand the gas system. Both utilities need to see the corporate center and Airpoint fully developed. We need to see the Camp Sutton area redeveloped. We like the idea of a new industrial park and think that would be great for us. We also need to see residential growth for both utilities, and for both the utilities, it'd be ideal to have high-density residential growth. We've got the infrastructure in place, and the more customers we can connect to it, the better off the utilities will be. Again, wholesale rate reduction, we've talked about that. That will be an opportunity for us when we can get the debt retired. And new technologies, there's both utilities are seeing great advances in technology. Things like smart metering, mobile technologies, high efficiency appliances. We just need to make sure we're staying abreast of those changes, that we're making plans to capitalize on those that improve our operations and make sure we minimize the negative impacts of any of the things that come along. Another opportunity may be fiber to the home. As you know now, the state has some very restrictive legislation on expansion of the fiber network for us, but there's movements at the federal level to overturn those state laws. So we just need to keep aware of those things. And finally, our threats. Our biggest threat is employee-based. It's loss of further employees and possible more low morale. We've already seen a third of our line technicians leave, and if we don't do something to improve our pay scales, we're going to see a continuation of that loss. And I want to just give you an idea of the pay differential for a line technician. A top line technician in Monroe is making $5 an hour less than our neighboring utilities. That's
That's
10
union power and,
That's $10,000 a year difference. In addition, one of the other utilities is paying for family medical coverage. So for one of our employees that's passed the health assessment, that's another $9,000 a year. So we're looking at almost a $20,000 differential in pay for a top line technician. Another thing I want to make sure we understand is the electric and gas industry employees nationwide are aging. 50% of the employees in the electric and gas industry are 50 years or older. Over the next 5 to 15 years, there's going to be half of the electric industry leaving for retirement. So again, it just stresses the fact that we need to be, make sure that our pay is competitive so that we don't lose more employees as other utilities have retirements taking place.
what kind of succession plan do we have for your power management?
We have several folks in place that have been brought along to take care of things.
Yeah, I know you were here with Hugo, so that means you've been here with us.
I'm one of those old folks that's going to be
He's one of those
retiring in the
that
next
might be
5 years, but we have several folks that we're bringing along to be ready to step in if that's the choice of the city manager.
Let me ask you a question. Does your line employees paid out of general fund, or does that come out of the electric?
It's out of the electric and gas funds. So
I think Mayor, you and Larry need to get with Don and work on that. I mean, that's ridiculous. If we're losing key people like that, you don't replace people like that.
And both of those funds have very healthy fund balances right now.
Another threat is that the electric and gas prices could increase. You know, we think that our projections are for electric and gas prices to stay relatively where they are now. But there's no guarantees to that. Things could change and we could be faced with higher rates. Negative or restrictive legislation. I've heard lots of times that anytime we're in session in Raleigh, we're not safe, and that's true for the electric and gas utilities as well. But they could take up legislation for pole attachments or territory laws or competition, restricting natural gas exploration and things that could have impacts on us. Terrorism and vandalism, third-party damage are always threats to a utility. And to some extent, loss of a large industrial customer could be a threat to us in that with our slow customer growth, loss of a large industry would put a lot of rate pressure on our other customers as we left behind. Again, I thank you for the opportunity to talk with you, and I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Subject to your questions, followed by Pete, tourism.
Who's going to man the camera?
So I don't know.
You can hog the camera.
Go ahead, look up close.
Where's that hogging the camera?
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Thank you for this opportunity to talk to you a little bit about tourism. Mayor serves as the chairman of the tourism board, and I know sometimes you all might not be aware of everything we're doing, so this is a good opportunity for you to hear some of the stuff that we are doing. Some of our strengths: we have a higher increase in hotel occupancy, tax collections since last May, the Holiday Inn Express opened. So we've seen our hotel occupancy dollars increase about 30% since that time. Very significant. It's our first new hotel in more than 11 years, which has been very good for the city, without taking away from our other hotels. We've identified a project, a public-private partnership, which is the Center Theater, working with them, working with downtown. We do have a good bit of money in the bank for the capital project, have about $1.6 million in the bank. We're investing about $500,000 into the Center Theater at this time, and we'll talk about some other options that we have. We do have a steady stream. We are seeing travel, just like the economy's starting to bounce back. Travel is a big piece of that, so we are seeing it across the board, statewide, national trend. Travel's up 8%. Locally, like I said, we're seeing about a 30% increase because of the new hotel. We have established event with the air show. With our air show continues to grow each year. We're probably almost at our max because we literally can't hold any more people at our airport. We have an established capital asset that was purchased out of tourism, which is the Tinkerbell. We bought that for a little over $200,000 each year. It probably costs tourism about $40,000 each year to operate it. We do bring in about $30,000 or so in revenue from it, and we take it to shows up and down the East Coast, promoting Monroe, promoting Monroe's aerospace, and we do have local industries involved in its repair, maintenance, and operation.
What about the,
Yes, sir.
the engines? What kind of shape are those engines in?
Engines are in good shape, and great question, Councilman Jordan. We purchased a spare engine. It took 3 years to get. We purchased it, took them a year to build it, so we actually have a fully operational, 100% new spare engine, just in case one of those engines do go down. We won't be down a whole year waiting on a new one. We could just change it, and that cost us about $84,000 just for that extra engine.
And am I correct in assuming that a plane is designed so that if one of the engines have to just quit, that what it is able to land with one engine?
Yes, sir. It can't operate with one engine, especially the way we operate it. We don't have it at full cargo capacity, so that kind of limits it. If an engine does go out, you know, we'll land wherever we're going and get that other engine there, but it can land with one engine and operate. Yes,
We
ma'am.
got other people trained to fly it now, because at one time we were having trouble.
Currently we have 2 people that are 100% certified to fly it. One is a local gentleman out of Matthews. One is a 75-year-old gentleman out of Florida
I suggest you get another.
that we use in case of emergencies. And currently we have 2
I
guys
won't be flying with you.
in the Cary-Raleigh area that we should have certified within the next month. And they're all commercial pilots and all very familiar with these aircraft.
That ride to the Anderson Air Show, I think I'll pass.
That's the 75-year-old flying.
That's right. And granted, we haven't used him in 2 years, but he is there in case we need him because there are no pilots certified for this aircraft.
I knew we were having trouble with that, so I was just
We are.
curious.
Again, we do have an involved and supportive tourism board. It's a very diverse board. We have hotel, we have attraction, and we have restaurant folks on our board. And currently we have about 800 plus hotel rooms in the city of Monroe. That's pretty good, you know, varying levels of quality and quantity. So, moving on to our opportunities. Look, we have nowhere to go but forward. I talked about this in our branding. For tourism, we don't have an attraction, so anything we do is going to be good for the city. We do have community participation, you know, by the air show. Everybody comes out to the air show. People in this community want to see something. They want to see something. They want to have something they can hang their hat on. Again, we do have a concept for a tourism capital project, which is the theater, but we're also in the works of talking about this science center. You've heard me kind of touch on that a little bit. We're still in the fact-finding process of that, trying to figure out the feasibility of something like that. We have very willing hospitality partners. The hotels want to see something. They want to be able to offer their patrons and draw folks into Monroe and have something to offer them. Comes to our downtown catalyst, again, we want to look at the science center somewhere in the downtown area to draw people into downtown, get them off the boulevard, get them into the city. Again, we have a lot of potential partnerships with the country club, with the aquatic center, that we just need to expound on more, you know, offering different vacation or stay and play type packages with the hotels, get them to offer the people that are staying there, hey, stay here, here's a half price round of golf if you stay at our hotel. Since we have that asset, we could kind of look at something like that.
But, do you have a site in mind for the science center? To keep mentioning?
We have a couple sites that we've looked at. We'd like to keep it within the confines of not smack dead in the middle of downtown, but we'd like to keep it in downtown. And we've actually looked at a site near the library.
Okay.
Kind of in that site, that area. It could be a good catalyst for revitalization.
Not where the Joffrey Hotel was located?
No, we're looking at an existing structure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we were looking, well, we're open to anything. If the existing structure fits the needs and is within the budget we could afford, then we'd look at that. If not, we could look at building. Like I said, we have about $1.6 million in the budget, with a couple $100,000 of that committed to the theater.
It would cost much more, Pete, probably to build a structure there.
Yes, sir.
On, depending on what the land situation is.
Yeah.
What you pay for an old building, the time you fix it up,
Right.
you better off to build a new one
That's a bad old building.
for the same amount of money or less. And if you paid a few dollars more, and I don't mean $1 million more,
Right.
a few dollars more, you still better off.
Right. I agree, and that's why we're in the process of kind of gathering all that information
Well,
now.
the old hotel site, as Mr. George said, might not be a bad thing to look at.
Okay. Well, we could definitely look at that and definitely consider it.
It'd probably be real cheap to property.
You cut me a deal. Just so you know, the tourism has looked at an air museum, a sports complex, a horse arena, an amphitheater, and maybe one or two other projects. And I told you y'all this before, we want to do something that's not going to be a drain on the general fund. Whatever we do, we want it to either be self-sustaining or make money. So we don't want to have to come back and say, hey, we're short $200,000, we need money out of the general fund for it. So that's why we've kind of going slow in this process.
That's smart.
Again, willing boards, TDA and council, I believe that you all want to see something, you want to have something to hang Monroe's hat on, and it needs to be the right thing for us. And we're not going to move forward until we have that right thing. We do have national promotion of aerospace, our aerospace industry, our air show, our businesses, and Tinkerbell. I've yet to run across a city that owns a vintage aircraft. So. Weaknesses, again, lack of clear direction with regards to the capital project. Again, we've looked at a bunch. We want to choose the right one. So it could be a weakness that we haven't designed one and found that yet. Long-term financial stability, if we have another recession, our hotel occupancy taxes are going to go way down. So we want to make sure that we have enough money in the bank to cover something like that if we have to.
The hotel occupancy tax, does that have a sunset feature to it?
No, sir.
It's already flipped though.
What it did, 10 years ago, we had it, and 1/3 of the money that came in from the occupancy tax went towards operation, basically salary and what keeps the office, and 2/3 went into the savings account for the capital project. Just this past September or October, it switched. So 2/3 goes into operation and 1/3 goes into capital. The reasoning they do that is when you first start it, you build up your capital, then you build your capital project, and then you have the operational money to run that capital project. Since we haven't designed or built a capital project, basically that money is sitting. Now, this doesn't mean that we spend the extra 2/3 in operational money by giving me a huge, huge raise, but that'd be okay.
That's tomorrow's meeting.
Yeah. So the extra money in operational can roll over into capital.
Oh, okay.
So we don't have to spend it, so to speak. It could go back into our savings account, or it could just sit there until the time that we need it. So, and it's a really good time. Like I said, we're going to bring in almost $100,000 more this year than we did last year.
I noticed that the hotels have brought in more than they expected. There's been over
Yeah.
what they thought they were going to get on tourism each month.
Hotels are doing really, really well, and it's all a bigger microcosm of the economy. People are traveling more, and it's across the board. It's not just one or two hotels.
It's across.
All the hotels are. And we've got everything from a $29 a night hotel to a $139 a night hotel in Monroe.
Has there been any talk in the General Assembly about doing away with the occupancy tax?
I haven't seen anything with that. I know they're really strict in making any changes or adding any new ones. I know that Stallings had looked at it 2 years ago because they have 2 hotels in their town, and I don't think it passed. I think it's real tough to get any kind of changes in that, but the ones that are existing, because your coastal communities and your mountain communities just rely so heavily on those occupancy taxes. I don't think that our General Assembly would pick
Well, I
that
know
fight.
that, I don't know about other big cities, but I know Charlotte relies very heavily on theirs.
Yes, sir. Yes, Charlotte, Raleigh, yeah.
Probably Greensboro.
Yeah, all the larger cities, I mean, especially Charlotte, and, you know, that's another thing that helps us with the new hotel. It gives us a little more prominence in drawing events to it. With just having the Hampton Inn, we just had 100 and something rooms. Now we have over 200 rooms that are enclosed. Basically, you go in the lobby to get to your room, and that's where conferences are looking for. So
Yeah.
we could help to, and that's one of our initiatives on the tourism board, is to try and have more of those local conferences here in Monroe and Union County. Again, no true destination. You know, we have events and we build on those, and that makes it difficult to market Monroe sometimes. We have to really be creative and try to do things to draw visitors here. Because I'm spread out a lot, we don't have a lot of participation in statewide initiatives. And to be honest with you, we get overlooked. Everything is the coast and the mountains when it comes to tourism. So a lot of this, or Pinehurst. Everything in between, it's almost an afterthought at times. So again, we have to get creative with that. And again, we need to create some new marketing materials, and hopefully we'll have some of that this year. Again, threats, long-term financial stability with regards to the economy. If people aren't traveling, we're not making money. We do have a very aging hotel stock, quality and quantity. Without y'all being here, you know which hotels I'm referencing, and you know, we do have some police issues with some of those hotels. And I've talked with Chief a little bit about that. I don't know if it's as far as where Charlotte condemns some of these hotels for public safety, so I don't know if we're at that point, but that could be something we look at in the future. Again, communities around us offer more amenities. You know, stay in Concord, you have the racetrack in Charlotte, Matthews, so we're in constant competition. Community support and participation, it was an opportunity, but it's also a threat. How much do people really want tons of outsiders coming here? Do we want a big attraction? Do we want more traffic on 74? So it's kind of a push-pull kind of thing. And then again, the overall image and perception of the city of Monroe. Talked about it during the branding initiative. What do people outside the city of Monroe think of us, and how are we going to change that image to attract them to come to the city of Monroe? So that's kind of tourism in a nutshell. It's a work in progress. And I'll happy to answer any questions.
Reminder about the Beach Blues Barbecue next weekend.
Again, Beach Blues and Barbecue next weekend. You know, we piggyback on a lot of our downtown events, Brian's events, Parks and Recs events, as well as the air show as our main tourism events and activities. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Staff, thanks you today for the SWAT presentations that are, again, superb. Mayor and members of City Council, I'd like to transition from SWOT presentations to fiscal perspective that will be presented by Lisa, and she'll touch on a number of things: reevaluation, fund balance usage, major capital and operating budget expenditures. And I've asked her to try to keep it at a high level, just basically give you the first set of insights of the data. As you know, we'll be presenting or delivering the budget books end of next week, I believe, March, or on or about May 1st, and we'll have a strategic session where we can walk through the different components and sections of your budget handbook. And with that, I'd like to introduce Lisa. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Just as Larry mentioned, this is going to be a very broad overview of where we're at right now We'll be able to have much more discussion as council wishes on May 5th, and we are on schedule to have the books distributed next Friday. As you know, the budget process is progressing very quickly. We've conducted meetings, meaning Larry, Mary Lou, and I, with all of the department heads and their key personnel, and they have conveyed their priorities to the team. And based on their priorities and other discussions with council, we've prepared a conservative budget proposal. We've used some realistic estimates and have matched expenditures with sustainable recurring revenue. The budget that we're proposing currently includes the revenue neutral tax rate, which I'll cover on the next slide, and it also includes some favorable growth revenues on the sales tax area that have helped to offset some of our losses with the privilege license sunset. So the focus for today is going to be on the current revenue picture, and then I'll provide an overview of the items that are being included and some that are not included, and the remaining budget schedule. This first slide is the revals, which you've all been waiting for, I'm sure. As you can see, that first column, fiscal year 2015, that is our current taxable or current assessed value, $3,454,000,000. Our tax rate of 55.5 cents yields a revenue of $18.8 million. The county has estimated our assessed value at $3,270,000,000 roughly. This is a loss in value of about $183 million, or 6.36%. From what they've said, there were no winners in Union County. All the cities lost value. The proposed revenue neutral rate to yield the same revenue that we currently enjoy, $18.8 million, is 58.63 cents. This would be an adjustment of 3.13 cents. If we do not go with the revenue neutral tax rate, we have a revenue reduction in ad valorem of just over $1 million, and it could be more because we'll lose that little slice of the pie in the sales tax revenues as well, because we'll lose some footing there with a lower tax rate. Does anybody have any questions on this slide?
Just clarification. So if we leave our tax rate where it is, we'll lose about $1 million because of the reduction.
Yes, sir.
In ad valorem. And plus we'll lose whatever we lose to the county and to the other municipalities because we're not increasing our tax rate, so we get an additional proportion.
That's correct. If they all went with their revenue neutral rate, they'd probably all be raising or making that a bigger number. And if our numbers stayed the same, we'd get a smaller piece of that pie as a
We
percent.
don't know right now what
No.
that is.
No, we sure don't.
Are we hearing any more about whether or not the state is going to redistribute or come up with a different formula for distributing sales tax revenue to see if that impacts us in way at all?
There are some bills that are proposed in the legislation. Those bills will not affect the fiscal year 16 revenue stream. They would be for future years, I think out in
It's
17,
actually,
18.
Councilmember Jordan, it's not, there are a couple of bills that are out there. One, and I think they all aim to be effective after the next fiscal year, but right now the bills aren't moving. There is one that will have a 3-year phase-in that we believe will cause, at least based on projections, some impact in the city. There is an additional bill that has been proposed that is trying to use the 2013 revenue, sales tax revenues as a baseline, but it's not going anywhere either. So right now, there are 2 Senate bills out there that are competing, and we do not know which one's moving forward. It is an issue of sort of competition internally between portions of the General Assembly.
But we don't have an idea of whether or not either one of them will pass the House and the Senate by the end of our fiscal year, so that we could have an idea how that's going to impact us in future years, so that we can make preparation for
Right,
future years to try to offset any losses that we're going to have as a result.
That's correct, and it's going to depend on what the state does and how quickly they choose to make it effective. We've seen, for example, one, as I said, would be a 3-year phase in, and then another intends to give like at least a year's grace period before the changes come.
That's what I would hate to see us do is do a budget based on just a snapshot of what is going on overall with the state, so that for our next year's budget, we're having to come back and readjust again, and maybe not looking at it holistically, so that we start phasing in some of the increases that we might have to make, or phasing out some of the reductions that we need to make in order to address all of our issues as we address them.
Well, if I understand right, what they phase it out is what's going to hit us next year. The sales tax, if they don't give us something back off of that. We don't know where that's at yet, but I can kind of see where it's going. I think it's going south, but I don't know that either. So that's going to be a big impact on us already. And of course, we're already fixing to see the impact on the privilege license. So there's not anything else to add on to add. In fact, we're on a reduction. I mean, from what I think.
Well, and that kind of gets into my next slide. As you can see, and we talked about this slide last time, what we did was we took a look at the major revenues for the city and which ones were sustainable going forward. Obviously, privilege license, no, and we're showing the reduction of that $859,000. Sales tax at current, statewide, there is a 7.5% increase for fiscal year 2015, with an additional increase projected in fiscal year 2016 of about 3%. We feel that for next year, we can sustain the sales tax at that $536,000. The other revenue source that is coming in very favorable is the utility sales tax. This is the new revenue that we started realizing this fiscal year. The utility used to be a franchise, now it's based on a sales tax that's assessed on the bills. The proceeds are distributed to all the cities and towns, and based on the 2 quarters that were collected, we're up about 30% over the franchise method. This formula was written into law. It's not scheduled at present to be revisited. Anything over the base amount, which is what we used to realize under the franchise method, is being distributed to everybody based on an ad valorem basis. So again, your ad valorem levy really makes a difference in not only ad valorem taxes, but in sales tax and now the utility sales tax. So what we set our rate at could affect this distribution, but we do feel that the additional $722,000 will be sustainable in fiscal year 16 and should stay stable going forward. And to address what you had mentioned, that's kind of where we've been at when we developed the budget. We want to make sure that we're not including things that down the road we would no longer be able to afford or sustain.
Okay.
The municipal service district, or downtown Monroe, the current value for downtown Monroe is about $26 million. The county has estimated the new value at $23.7 million. This is a reduction of $2.3 million, or 9.7%. If we would like to generate the current tax revenue that we currently are receiving, $45,000, we would need to adjust to a revenue neutral tax rate of 21.9 cents. If we do not adopt a revenue neutral rate, we'd lose about $4,000. The general fund balance. Staff is planning to use some unassigned fund balance to fund a lot of the one-time purchases and the one-time improvements that were requested in the budget. This chart kind of walks you through where we're at and where we anticipate being with the new budget. As of March 31st, we're showing for formal assignments, we've got money for matching grants at the airport of about $1.2 million. The airport subsidy, which we've been drawing down each year for 5 years, is at $750,000, and street resurfacing the same. We've been drawing down over a 5-year plan. We've got $900,000 left in it. The unassigned fund balance is currently at $5.3 million. By the end of this fiscal year, we do plan to add to that $5.3 million. We're looking at favorable collections in the sales tax for this year of $300,000 and that electric sales tax of $900,000. And we've had some savings from personnel vacancies across the city of about $450,000. Council's plan to renovate the Winchester pool, so that will come out of that current balance, leaving us with $6.9 million. In the 2016 budget, we'll draw down another year of our subsidies, which will leave our formal assigned fund balance at $2.3 million. And we've proposed a use of about $2.3 million for those one-time expenses, which would leave us at $4.4 million in this unassigned fund balance. What's included in the budget? We have several positions. Within the general fund, we've got 2 full-time positions, 2 part-time positions, and we're proposing to reclassify a couple of them. In the enterprise funds, we've included 4 full-time and 1 part-time. Workers' compensation funding increase. This $350,000, $150,000 of that will be included going forward. We're just having increased funding levels due to the higher expenses for a lot of the claims. The other $200,000 is going to be a one-time to restore that fund balance. We used quite a bit of it this year to pay off a couple of large claimants. The next item is implementation of a pay plan. We've included dollars to conduct a pay plan study. This amount that is included here is for all funds and is to implement phase 1 of 2 of that pay plan study as it would be recommended. We're also recommending reinstatement of the merit program. It would be from 0 to 3%, with the average increase being around 1.5%. And we've included the cost of living pay increase at 3% that council previously had voted on for all employees except department heads. And I've listed that at $820,000.
I have a question. When you had split the assistant city manager, finance director into 2 positions, and then Parks and Rec, exactly what that means?
What that means, what that means is, as you probably realize, the assistant city manager positions are dual-hatted. So what I'm proposing is to eliminate that dual-hatted nature and reclassify their assistant department heads. Lisa's position is an assistant finance director position, reclassifying that to a full department head position, and the assistant recreation department head, reclassifying that to a full department head.
And how many assistant city managers does that make? Just
No
1?
change. 2.
So you're going to have 2 full-time assistant city managers?
Yes,
And that's all they're not going to be department heads, they're just going to be assistant city managers?
Correct.
So would Ron still be over downtown, or would he be moved from downtown?
They would retain their their responsibilities. They would, instead of being dual
Well, then
hatted,
it wouldn't be a total assistant city manager, he would be still over downtown. Because Brian's an assistant manager.
yes.
So that's, and, you know, the finance director was also an assistant city manager. So you're talking about taking that away. So what will that assistant city manager do?
They would oversee the same functions that they do today. They would not be dual hatted as a department head. They would be a full assistant city manager.
You're still not making it,
I understand that.
You only have
I don't
one city,
understand.
assistant city manager now, that's Brian, right?
that's Brian.
One position is filled, one is vacant.
And I don't think you ought to have two.
So we're gonna split it, is what they're talking about. They're splitting it back to where it used to have
But what he
two
still-
of them, and not, that's all they do.
Yeah, but he's saying Brian will not be over downtown anymore.
Yeah.
So,
No, I didn't say it wouldn't be. I said
well,
it-
you
he
just
would-
said he would be assistant city manager.
And
they would not
retain the
be-
same functions that he currently has.
Well, the
But he
other
would not
assistant
be-
manager would not attain the same functions because they were finance director also. So the duties would change for that position.
The assistant city manager that had finance would also overlook water resources, energy, and finance. That would not change. He would no longer be dual hatted as a department head. In Brian's situation, Brian would continue overseeing all the functions that he has.
Well, he's still dual hatted.
No, he would not be a department head.
So the downtown director is not a department head.
He would not be a department, I don't know how else I can say it. He would not be a department, he would be an assistant city manager, responsible for downtown development, recreation, planning.
In other words, Brian's job would not change, basically, is that what you're saying?
His job would not change, he would no longer be a department head and an assistant city manager.
Okay.
So we're just gonna do away with the department head for the downtown. That's probably the best way to look at it.
Yeah, that's what I keep, that's
It's
what I was
not
trying to
department
get
head
to understand
downtown.
is, you know, you're doing away with the department head. The downtown director has always been a department head. So that's the reason I was questioning you that way.
Okay, now that takes care of one assistant city manager. Now, before we add on the second one, I don't know where I understand what that job is curtailed, the whole span of it. The next assistant city manager is gonna be also the finance director, is that correct?
No.
No, he would no longer be the finance director.
Okay, all right. We'll have a finance director, and then we'll have a assistant city manager.
Correct.
Okay, before we had a finance director and a city manager combined.
Well, I don't know what you had before.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what the second city manager, or however you want to say it, was the finance director as well as assistant manager. So coming in with the new, if I understand it right, the finance director will be finance director, and you will have another
Assistant city manager.
assistant city manager.
That's getting top heavy.
So actually,
Yeah.
picking up one person.
Yeah.
Well,
No.
Yes.
Well,
because
you
they
got a
were doing
finance
their
director and
jobs.
another assistant
No, we
city
have an
manager.
assistant city manager, we have two assistant city managers. Both of them are dual hatted as a department head. Both of them have assistant department heads in the respective departments that they're dual hatted in. Greg's position, when he was here, was assistant city manager, finance director. Lisa was or is the assistant finance director. What I'm proposing is to reclassify the assistant finance director to a full department head.
Right,
So no additional positions reclassification.
okay, that's one.
But it's not there's not an additional position.
No, but I mean, that remains a position. So now you still have that slash assistant manager you had. Am I missing something here, folks? Yeah, well, if you had assistant manager and a finance director, and that's gone, now you make the finance director only a finance director.
Assistant manager.
Assistant manager is still out here.
Yes.
Right.
So that's got to be an additional.
But we're also not.
What am I missing?
We're not gonna backfill the assistant
I don't know how to say any clearer. I mean,
I know, I understand.
splitting, we've got two assistant city managers, both of them are dual hatted, both of them have an assistants in the respective departments that they're dual hatted in.
Right.
So that's 4 people, okay? The assistant city manager, it's assistant city manager for finance. I'm saying split that. Still an assistant city manager position. Still have, we have an assistant finance director, making that a full finance director, department head.
Okay,
So
would
still
you-
two positions. Was yesterday, I'm proposing it still be. There, as Councilwoman said, their responsibilities would shift.
Okay.
And the assistant city manager for recreation would,
Well, it's
would
the same
split.
thing.
The assistant city manager for recreation has an assistant
Okay,
department head, assistant recreation director in recreation. That would be reclassified, I'm proposing, to a full department head.
okay. Well, you're
The
still
full
missing the
position.
point though. Brian is the downtown director and an assistant manager. He started off as a downtown director, okay? Greg started off as a finance director. Well, they added additional duties, so they both became assistant managers, okay? So you're saying Lisa will be the finance director. Where's going to be her assistant? Are you going to have an open position for that?
We won't backfill that.
My personal opinion is, I think Mr. Warren does a good job as assistant city manager.
He does a
In the
very good
past,
job.
we always had one assistant city manager. I just think that, I don't think we need to. I think we're gonna be top heavy. That's just my personal opinion.
Well, when the finance director became assistant city manager, when the downtown director became assistant city manager, of course, there was an increase there. So, they
Well,
were
you're looking
given
at
additional.
another $140,000, $150,000 that could be spread around, in my opinion, in other areas. But I'm looking at it from more of a business standpoint. I just don't see it.
I want to ask what the recreation program coordinator. What does that person want to do that is not currently being done at Parks and Rec? And who is that going to be a new position, or is it there's somebody already there that's going to give the
It's
title?
proposed to be a new position. I would ask Brian to maybe fill in the gaps.
Would that be Mike Courtney's old position? Is that what we're doing, bringing that back?
Actually, the recreation program coordinator was what Tanya originally started at, and she worked with all the rec centers on their programming needs and activities, and that was her responsibility to coordinate all of the rec centers, their programming, working with the communities and their needs. This is bringing that position back.
All right, so what is Tanya going to do? Is her title going to change?
What happened?
According to this structure that's on this page, she would be downtown Parks and Rec director, is my understanding.
So she's taking your job.
She's taking.
Okay.
And I want to ask about one other position. The HVAC specialist. What department is that going to be tied to?
That's in Parks and Rec.
Which we did.
Currently, we contract with Henson Mechanical for all of our planned maintenance on all of the HVAC units. We figured that we could probably take care of that in-house. Cheaper, saving the cost of that contract and possibly some repair costs. That was kind of highlighted in the staffing challenges, I think, in that presentation. So there is some savings to that. There's some recovery for that position's cost.
How much do we spend, with them?
Planned maintenance is about 30, 35, 34, somewhere in that range, in that area.
About $30,000 to $40,000 a year.
35,000, I'd say.
30 to 40,000
is a decent number.
for the work that we're hoping this $72,000 a year person can do.
Well, there's some
that's
repairs in
low.
there that we estimated in the staffing challenges.
Now, is this just salary, or
Save on.
is this just salary, or is this?
That's salary and benefits.
What is, stand up here, Brian, I gotta ask you a
Okay,
question.
okay.
How much are we spending now on HVAC maintenance and repair?
$35,000. That's just for our maintenance contract.
That's not
Come out
counting the repairs.
quarterly. That's none of the repairs.
That's what I'm,
The
Yeah,
repairs
repairs are
are
major.
kind of as needed. We have budget for the repairs, but we can't predict what they are. But we figure on the smaller repairs, on some of the things that are minor, our guy that would be in-house could handle those and save us those repair costs. Now, major stuff, replacing a whole unit or whatever, we'd still have to contract out for that.
What kind
I
of,
was conservative in estimating the savings.
Brian, what kind of, preventive maintenance repairs we talking about, $30,000 to $40,000 a year? What are we talking about?
Preventative maintenance, they come in and they check the pressures, tighten
Clean.
belts, hoses, clean, change filters on all the HVAC units we have in the city.
question. Why, are you putting this out for bid every year? Or you just been using Henson Mechanical?
We have been using Henson.
Well, let me say, I have used them before and they're good, but they're high.
Yeah, they're expensive.
You need, before I do this, I swear, I would go out and I would shop it. I would go out and get 4 or 5 bids, because I'm telling you, there are people out there who would love to do bid work for the city.
We can do that. It hasn't been done in the past.
I surely would think you ought to go out and bid it, because that way you cut out 72,000 right off the bat.
Now, one of the advantages of Henson is they are local and they do come out.
Just like that. But you pay
We
for
need,
the just like that.
when we have the
We have other
HVAC
local
out.
people
We got a
that.
bunch of
they're not the
local.
only ones on board.
But they're not the only ones. I totally agree with you. I'm very well aware of that.
I tell you what, I'll give you a name of a kid I've been using, dadgum, he had a real prompt and very reasonable too. Okay.
Well, we can,
We've got a lot
I'd be
going.
glad to do that.
And just one more question before we move on. I don't know, what's the police assistant special services, even though it's not costing you anything, I mean, what is it?
It's a part-time person, it's the community,
Officer Sal, Colonel Sal's position. He came in, he was hired on a temporary position with the police department. He's just an hourly employee since he retired, he's working less than 19 hours. We've been able to pay him through open vacancies and everything. Hadn't cost us anything, any extra out of our line item. I was just proposing that we hire him on a part-time basis.
But it's gonna be more than zero then, you do that, right?
Yes, ma'am, it's not going to be an increase. I have so many vacancies right now. in
But you're able to wiggle it in
budget,
there.
I'm able to absorb his position into our salary line item.
exactly.
In other words, he may come back in the future and ask for some money.
Yeah, just a matter of time.
It's $20,000 a year.
Just how long is it gonna be?
Yeah.
He does a good job in the community.
Yeah, this is small. And what we can do at the next meeting is maybe prepare like an existing organizational chart and then a proposed organizational chart that can outline better some of the proposed changes. Different discretionary and special programs that are funded are, of course, the youth council. The city council's discretionary funds are still included. We funded the city council travel budget at the new policy level. The city manager's discretionary account was reduced from $300,000 to $80,000. Still budgeting the air show net of the revenue. Outside agency funding is as recommended by the committee. And we've also included some land stations for a future industrial area that's funded from the electric fund.
It's gone down every year for the last 3 years. Outside agencies gone down.
On the next slide,
300, what time we're down to 189.
2 years ago.
We've gone down with it every year.
these are all capital vehicle purchases. They are all replacements. The first 3 are funded by the PAL bill grant money. The 2 fire apparatus are proposed to be funded by an installment financing and paid back over a 5-year period of time. The next slide covers capital equipment purchases. Most of these are IT to enhance efficiency, providing additional storage, some replacements, a lot of just necessary things to keep people operational. The next slide addresses some of our deferred maintenance issues as well as improves some of our overall features in the community. These are different facility and community improvements. Engineering has about $400,000 worth of different resurfacing, sidewalk. We've included $200,000 for sidewalks. Street resurfacing is still funded at the current levels. The Greenway Capital Reserve Fund, this is year 3 of 6 of funding for construction of future greenways. The parks maintenance and facility is, well, parks maintenance is about $415,000. These are mostly for park improvements and major replacements, those ball field lights. The facilities maintenance gets some of our deferred maintenance covered. That roof at the parks maintenance facility is a big one. The downtown is funded, and this is a continuation of our master plan implementation. And the last one is at our airport. Initially, it was going to be about $500,000 to replace that fuel tank. And since then, we've had some assessments done, and we're able to refurbish that tank at half the price. Items that are not included. We did not include all of the requested personnel. There's about 10 full-time and 3 part-time positions that were requested that are not included. And there are also some capital items that are not included. These included the new police and fire station, hangar construction at the airport, of course the parking lot resurfacing back here at the railroad depot, sidewalk construction at the corporate center is also not included.
I have one question. So the firefighters not being included and the assistant fire marshal not being included, is that going to affect our accreditation? Where'd Raphael go?
He's right back here.
He's here.
Are we going to lose accreditation because we don't have any firefighters? Yes, we don't want to answer that question.
If we don't meet the 4 competencies, we will not be reaccredited.
So this is over and above the 3 point whatever % tax increase. This stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
Fees and rate changes. We're proposing some nominal changes to the building and rec fees, and they'll be outlined in the budget book as to exactly which ones are changing. Water and sewer, we're projecting a 2% increase. This is the incremental increase that we try to do every year to avoid a large increase. There's no increase in stormwater. Electric has no increase on the bottom line, but they are restructuring some of the rates as recommended by the rate study consultants that completed a study this past year. The bottom line will net 0, so a few people will go up, a few people will go down.
What's that?
Fund balance now in the water sewer capital.
I'm sorry,
What is our fund balance in the water sewer capital fund?
in the water sewer capital fund.
Yeah, reserve or what? Don't we have a fund set aside to do additional maintenance on it? I just wonder what it is.
I'll defer to Russ.
Our total undesignated cash is around 21 million.
I don't remember off the top of my head, I'm sorry.
Now, is that been built up for something in the future, Russ?
Replacement infrastructure.
We have a 15-year capital plan that goes beyond the 5-year plan. So in the 5 years, we have about $9 million worth of improvements, disinfection, changes at the treatment plants, solid handling upgrade, some other major ones. I can bring that and bring my CIP with me, but there's about $9 million in the 5-year picture that we're still working with Lisa to decide whether that'll be a revenue bond issue or cash fund.
But you do have that money in the fund.
It's in that long-term rate projection to do those incremental, so we always have the funds to do those. And then out in about the year 10, there's a large amount for process changes at wastewater plants that come from unfunded mandate for new facilities.
Y'all looked right through, you didn't see a while ago.
It's fine.
I got it. I got a question whenever it's appropriate. I know people got up. I want to back up to the, of course, I got several questions, and for me, I think we need another session just on this, whether it's 1 hour or
Yes.
2 hours or what, just on this. You had to go over a lot of it real fast, and that's me. I don't know what the council wants. But I think we need another session just on it, to look at this, go through it, analyze it. If it's something we can swap, trade out here, to pick up something over there, that maybe we can do that, but maybe we can't. But that's what I'd like, and I hope the council would agree with me on that. But the question I got, backing up to the facility and community improvement, there's several questions I have, but I got one on this belt tunnel one, renovations on that. And I'm wondering if that includes, Brian, the property we've talked about in the past. Is that money in this?
No, that
That's
just
just what the
includes a
shelter is.
comprehensive renovation of that
Okay,
structure, facility,
Yeah.
everything.
But that can't
The
be
amphitheater.
Yeah, that takes care of that. And the other one, I don't know where it's at, the parking lot resurfaced Church Street and Railroad, that's this big lot over here. You know, we ought to be, somebody ought to give us some help on paving that. I'm talking about somebody being the county. The county uses 99, well, I don't know what percent, but the county uses the biggest percentage of that. And I don't know if we shouldn't ask them to help us pay that parking lot.
We asked them before when we had parking spots out here, and they wouldn't even give us
I know,
$11,000.
because most of it is used by the court system and the courthouse.
Yeah,
And
but they
I'm-
wouldn't even give us
And
$11,000.
that's right, and I'm not,
Remember that?
downplaying anything, I'm just saying, maybe they'll step up the pot, maybe they'll step up the pot, and give us $3.50 anyhow. But I'm saying, I think we need to look at that again, and Dottie, as Nash says, we've asked before, and we can ask again, but, it don't cost anything to ask, and it probably won't be any problem to ask.
And that's why we haven't included that one, just so that we could negotiate with the county.
But there's several more things in this packet I can ask questions about too. And I don't know if you got another session outlined for
We
this.
do, on May 5th, we can go over every aspect of, this was just meant to give you a taste of what we've included,
Okay.
so that you can
Start
think
digesting.
about it, get your ideas together.
Very good.
The budget schedule, we'll give you your books next Friday. We'll meet, we'll discuss all of this on the 5th. And the rest of the schedule, we can just play out from there. We do plan to read the budget message on the 5th. If something doesn't work out, we can always adjust the schedule accordingly.
We haven't even had a contract. Motion to adjourn.
I know, we're late.
Anything else? We've got a council meeting in 8 minutes, if I have a motion, a second.
Second.
All in favor, we adjourn.